Today's webcast will focus on the new features within the InfraWorks 2023.1 software. Okay, so we'll be looking at the new features within InfraWorks 2023.1, which include civil structure clipping planes, which are for both bridges and tunnels. The bridge components of the bridges, we can create custom components within Inventor or Revit. The bridges can be analyzed utilizing the Autodesk structural bridge design. And the analysis, the girder design within the analysis of InfraWorks actually uses the structural bridge design. The new component here is that as we can make direct changes within the structural bridge design and then import those changes back into InfraWorks. Parking lots, they were actually a new feature in 2022.1. And they kind of flew under the radar and went largely unnoticed. So this time we're shining the spotlight on them. There's other refinements as well as the capability of finding commands within InfraWorks. And there will no longer be cloud credits charged for a variety of analysis that InfraWorks does, such as watersheds, corridor optimization, profile optimization, etc. And there's also new logos. And then we'll accumulate this with a software demonstration, and then we'll wrap things up with a question and answer period. I must point out that this is for InfraWorks 2023.1. And the release cycles for Autodesk is, especially for InfraWorks, is that the dot release that usually comes out later in the fall has quite a few new features. And this is one reason why the parking lots went kind of unnoticed, because they got released in the fall and flew under the radar. And so this demonstration, as well as the impending course that we're about to release, runs on 2023.1. And you can find out, if you go to the About section of InfraWorks, there will tell you what release you're working on. And once again, it needs to be 2023.1. So let's look at civil structure clipping planes. Both bridges and tunnels are considered civil structures, and we now have the ability to clip these structures. Once we establish a plane, we can reverse the direction of the plane as to which direction you're looking from. We can align the camera or the view directly onto the plane, which is very nice, that we can start taking some critical dimensions within the structure. We have the ability to clip the plane, which clip the terrain, which is kind of hard to explain, but we'll be going over that during the demonstration. We can type in the exact offset distance that's required, and that offset distance is taken from the starting alignment, the starting station of the bridge. We can also type in the skew angle, which is relative to the perpendicular of the structure. We can create multiple planes, and we can delete planes. Once again, this works both on bridges and tunnels. So a bridge is actually quite a complex object within InfraWorks, and it's composed of a variety of parts with parametric values. InfraWorks comes with quite many stock components, but you now also have the ability to create Revit families or Inventor parts that can be brought into InfraWorks for customized parts. This requires the infrastructure part shape utility plugin for either Inventor or Revit. And this only works with Inventor and Revit, not on the LT versions of those programs. The girder analysis has always been available, well, for at least the last few releases within InfraWorks, and it is computed using the Autodesk structural bridge design software. For running this analysis, you do not need the structural bridge design software installed on your machine. But if you do have it on your machine, then you can work on the bridge directly within the structural bridge design and then update the InfraWorks bridge directly from the structural bridge design. As I mentioned before, parking lots were a new feature in 2022, but they really went unnoticed. So there is a new object within InfraWorks, which is the parking area. It is quite similar to a coverage area, but it has its own unique features and its styles. So we first create the parking area, and then InfraWorks can give a variety of layouts based on the geometry within that parking area. We can make adjustments to the parking area or the parking layouts via styles, via standards, etc. Also the geometry. If needed, we can add additional parking rows. The parking layouts that are applied to the parking area, they can also be applied to coverage areas. Parking rows can be applied to any surface within InfraWorks. And again, I'll be demonstrating this shortly. Okay, let's jump over to InfraWorks. So let's start with the bridge design. The clipping plane. We first need to select the bridge. And it may be a little bit tricky selecting the bridge rather than the road. And you can see what is selected by what is highlighted. In this case, I've selected the road. In this case, I've selected the bridge, and we see both the starting and the ending station of the bridge. So once the bridge is selected, through my right-click menu, I can toggle on Show Clipping Planes. As I move my cursor back and forth, it's positioning the plane. I do a single click to position the plane. A variety of icons, two icons appear. One for the plane itself, with the active plane, which is the cyan pentagon, and this red arrow, which allows me to elongate or shorten or reposition the plane. I can hit enter, and now my plane is clicked. To bring that menu back up, I can either right-click again, or I can click on this clipping marker. I can also here type in my offset value of maybe 66. I hit enter, and it applies it to that value. And the skewing angle of, say, 23 degrees. I hit enter, and it applies. I set my skewing plane back to 0. But if I align my camera, I get a straight-on view of the clipping plane. That's really convenient for me to start checking some critical dimensions. Within the bridge. Okay, if I want to add another clipping plane to this, click on plus, and like I did before, I can position my new clipping. So now I have two symbols. One is an active one and one is the inactive one. And I can simply click on whichever symbol I want to make that one the current one. So if you look at this clipping plane, you can actually see here in the wind turbines in back, everything gets clipped. However, I can unclip the terrain and everything else is clipped, but all the terrains are revealed, including the grading for our roads. And then finally, I can delete planes as well, clipping planes. And as I said, this also works on tunnels. So it works very similar to the bridge. A skew angle to it. Very similar to the bridge. So let's look at the bridge girders. So again, now I don't even need to select the bridge. I go to my analysis tab under line girder analysis. I select the bridge. The analysis can take some time. So let me start the analysis. I had one up previously, but I lost it so let me just start the analysis. I'll go on to the parking areas, and then I'll come back when the analysis is complete. It shouldn't take all that long. Just move this over to my other monitor as it's completing itself. One really nice command that I really enjoy, and is the ability to find commands. Just by hitting Control F, the find command comes up, and I can start typing in, say, parking, and all the commands available. I can use any of these commands, and it invokes the command. I am not able to run the girder analysis in the background. So I'll show you the results. Well, I can show you the results now. I have the ability to take the bridge and export it to an Excel file. And it's a very detailed spreadsheet that it gets exported to, based on the foundations, the piers, the abutments, etc. And I also have the ability to open this directly in the structural bridge design, where I can look at all the different beams, the different meshes, I can start changing things around. I can save this, this file. And then once it's saved, I go back to my line girder analysis. I can open the bridge in structural bridge design, or I can update my InfraWorks bridge with the updated model from my structural bridge design. Nice round trip there. Okay, so let's look at creating some parking areas. These are all under my Create Environment tab. Here we have the parking area, the parking layout, and the parking rows. So parking area, it's very similar to creating coverage areas. I can designate the style, as well as the source for the parking standards, the standards name. These are all based on the vehicle tracking program from Autodesk. And currently there's only one that comes shipped with InfraWorks. But in the future, there might be different parking standards for different countries. So I'm invoking my parking area. And you notice that I'm going to include these buildings for my parking area. Double click to finish. And if I right click on this, I can flatten to elevation. So that's going to flatten my parking area. And just like my coverage areas, I can raise or lower the parking area. So that's step one. Now what I'm going to do is just on the other side of it, I'm going to also put in a regular coverage area. In the past, what we did is we had a pattern for consisting of a parking layout for the parking area. And this was really just a schematic as to designate that this is indeed a parking area. You can see it's not very functional. I can also shape the terrain. This is nothing new. So this is just a conventional coverage area. I just want to show you the difference between a parking area and a coverage area. So with this now, I'm going to apply a parking layout. Sorry for the fidelity here. It doesn't seem to be, not sure if you can see that. But I have different options for O for orientation. And you see how it reorients the roads in the parking area. And B allows me to change the angle of the roads. And I hit enter to accept. So what's interesting is that it, a couple things here. It recognizes buildings and it puts the parking areas around those buildings as well. The other thing is, remember that I started my parking area up here in the top left corner. So this is actually where it actually starts the parking area, and it will always leave an island, leave an opening where it starts. If I apply the parking area to my coverage area, parking layout, I should say, here you might be able to see the orientation a bit better by hitting the O button, and also the B for the A angles. Then I hit enter to accept. So what I would need to do is to change the style of my coverage area. One thing about the parking layouts and the parking areas are not linked. So if I need to modify one, the other one doesn't go with it. So I need to use my grips to modify both. I elongate this a bit. I have a better entrance here. Because I can also split the feature. If I split it, then I can actually create an entrance here. These back, so I could have a second entrance here. These are all style-based, so I can change my styles with green areas if I want. And even the individual bays, I can change them to have them as standard or accessible. Then the parking areas will give me a count as to how many rows I have and how many bays. I come over here. This was the pre-parking area solutions, which were more or less schematic. And here you see the solution with the new parking tools. It's much more effective. All right, well, I'll go back to my PowerPoint and wrap things up. So those were the new features and workflows within InfraWorks 2023.1. We looked at the clipping planes within the civil structures. We looked at the bridge components that can be, actually we didn't look at that because I did not have the plugin for Inventor or Revit, so I really couldn't demonstrate how to create bridge components within Revit or Inventor to bring into InfraWorks. We did look at updating the bridge within the structural bridge design. We demonstrated the parking lots through parking rows, parking layouts, and parking areas. We looked at the search command, which is Control F, that allows you to find any of the new commands. I mentioned that the cloud credits are eliminated for the analysis, various analysis that was performed. And last, and probably least, there's a shiny new logo.